No. It was good. I like the actual set design. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
If I could make one criticism, two actually. One, I thought Kendrick Lamar was probably the weakest part of the show.
Do you not like newer rap hip hop though?
Yeah, I just didn't. And two, 50 Cent is way too old to be hanging upside down.
He was a good sport to hang upside down like that. He didn't actually hang upside down in the original video when he was young. He was standing up and they reversed the camera.
Yeah, and
they should have arranged some mirrors, or something to flip it. I thought Mary J. Blige destroyed the stage.
She was actually lip syncing though. She was lip syncing the first set, and then the second time she wasn't, because she was out of breath as she was trying. You could hear her wheezing, trying to gasp to get the
over 50. Like she's R&B royalty, so I would have watched the whole set.
No, good. It was awesome. I quite enjoyed it. And I explained to my kids that these were all individuals who were all born out of Dr. Dre's. Right, he produced all their stuff. Right, really, that's real, and that's what the whole premise was. He produced all of these acts, so it was cool. Hey, everybody, John. Happy Valentine's Day, pal.
The anniversary of the St. Valentine's Day massacre, right?
Oh, okay. Well,
is that what it is? I actually don't know what it is.
Hope everybody's doing well. I see Scott is in the chat. Hey, Scott, Fraser, Lewis, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Heroes World Sidekick Show. If you are new to if you're a new listener or new to the show tonight, welcome. We are in the midst of a 90s bracket, the best action movie of the 90s, the decade. We split the decade in half. We are currently in the 1990 to 94 era. And tonight we are pitting Demolition Man up against True Lies. Before we get into that, we have a rundown of what's new in the Heroes World store, as well as some news and just some general chit-chat about things that are going on.
Some chit chat, some breaking news from Rob, who loves it when he puts
this guy,
all this work in during the day.
I know. This guy is John Ho. I'm Rob Gadet. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us. So Rob, I'm going to just run through a couple quick things. Again, thank you everybody for joining us on your Valentine's Day, or not joining us. Maybe you're going to be watching this on the rerun. So I just wanted to run down some quick board games. I've been getting a lot of requests for board games lately, so I wanted to show off some cool 2-player board games. So I figured I'd show off some board games and then talk a little bit about the new Magic set that's coming out. So the first board game I'm going to mention here is called Seven Wonders Duel. This is a dedicated 2-player only game where you're kind of building a civilization, and you'll be drafting these cards from, I don't know if you can see that middle stack there, Rob. All the cards get laid down there, and you can only take a card that is completely uncovered at the front. So it's made popular by a format called Rochester drafting, where you can kind of see face-up cards, but they've kind of done a new twist on it. So it does have an existing multiplayer game or multiplayer version where you could play 2 players up to, I believe, 6 players, but this is a dedicated 2-player version. I really like this game because it's got some meat on it. So sometimes you get a 2-player game and it's really short and you kind of play a couple and then you're like, all right, that was fun. But this is like, you can spend an evening playing this one here, Seven Wonders Duel. These are some of the different civilization ages that you build in this game. You can go for military might, build cities and things that generate you money, and go for victory points. And then you accumulate points by, just matching symbols and getting combos and stuff like that. So 2 players only, 10 and over can play it. About 30 minutes. So it's not going to take your whole night up, but it's a little bit more juicy than your quick 10-minute game. The other game I'm going to show you, Rob, is called the Hive. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. This one's a little bit more along the lines of chess. So you have these different little bug guys, and they all have different moves. So certain ones can move 3 spaces. Certain ones can only jump to the opposite side of the board. And the goal is to capture the other player's queen. Queen B, I think it is, or Queen Anne, or whatever. I don't remember what it was exactly. It's been a while since I played. But these are, yeah.
It's the Alien Queen.
Alien Queen, yeah. So this is 2 players, 22 hex tiles. They're really nice, beefy tiles, like probably about this big. They do make a smaller version that's like a pocket version. And the game is great because it doesn't really require a board. You just put it on any flat surface. So you can take it to, if restaurants are open, you can take it to a restaurant, cafeteria, take it camping with you, play it on the bed, play it on the floor, play it on the table, wherever you want to go. About 20 minutes, and ages 8 and up, it's recommended for. So those are some fun games. And then we have the new Magic set coming out this week, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. So it's a cyberpunk ninja samurai themed Magic set. So typically Magic, Rob, I don't know if you're familiar, it's like fantasy, like swords and sorcery, that type of era.
Yeah. I'm familiar with it. It was never really my jam, but I have the utmost respect for people who are really into it because it looks like a lot of fun. My Neanderthal brain just doesn't seem to be able to grasp the understanding of it.
It's not, you know, some people like these types of games, some people like other types of games. That's great. But it's neat that they're going in this other type of theming. So there's mechs in it, there's ninjas, there's Ninja Turtles, there's all kinds of fun stuff. And we are going to have this fully on sale this Friday. We did do the pre-release this past weekend. So everyone got a little sneak peek kind of taste of it. And now the full product is available this coming Friday. So set boosters, draft boosters, bundles, commander decks, all kinds of fun stuff. And if you do buy from a brick and mortar store, motor store, if you buy from a physical existing store that exists in the real world, you get what's called a buy a box promo card. So this card happens to be designed by Yoji Shinkawa. He's the lead character designer of the Metal Gear Solid a lot of the Metal Gear Solid series and Death Stranding. I don't know if you remember that PS4 game.
Yep.
Where I think we're just carrying boxes back and forth across something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a cool game. It looked hella cool. I couldn't get into it, but I heard it's actually quite rewarding. So you can get this card free when you buy any full box of Magic product from a store like mine, or you can hit up your local store.
That's cool.
You do not get this if you order off like an Amazon or some online dealer. So it's kind of a neat little reward for us.
In-store exclusive.
Yeah, neat little reward for us that actually run the games and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's the quick rundown. And we do post the new comic books and omnibuses and all kinds of other fun stuff on our Instagram and Facebook every Monday. So you can check that out. Books have been coming on time lately. I don't want to jinx it. So we hope to have the new releases on Wednesday. And there is a new reprint of the X-Men omnibus coming in. Just X-Men, not Uncanny X-Men, just X-Men. So that's the Jim Lee, omnibus.
The Jim Lee one, right?
I think so. I think that's what it is. I didn't get the chance to see the cover, but I just saw that it's a new printing. The omnibuses are doing really well, Rob. I know you're a collector yourself. Yeah. But people really like when they just see them and they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's like a big giant like years worth of comics all in one book." And they're like, "Oh, that's sweet. They
look great on shelves, man."
Yeah, you just pop it up there, and then you don't have to go around chasing a whole bunch of other volumes. Some of them do have multiple volumes, but you get a decent enough chunk that you're not kind of like, oh, I have to have everything. So it's a pretty cool thing. So thanks everybody for checking that stuff out. If you need anything else or are looking for anything else, you can definitely message us on our socials, Heroes World Online, or call us up at the shop, or just drop in and we can set you up with whatever you need. So let me throw it over to Rob, who's probably got some hot breaking news.
Let me pull it up. Also, just again, a big hello and thanks for everybody who are joining us live tonight. Don't worry, we will be getting into the reason why you're here between fighting between Demolition Man and True Lies. Also want to say, if you haven't had an opportunity to check out the Heroes World podcast with myself and John and returning host Stu, from the northern shores of Ireland. I don't know.
Ireland?
Well, John and I did a review of Peacemaker episode 7, which is a hell of a lot of fun. And then we also did the review with Stu, who joined us for the finale of episode 7 of the Book of Boba Fett. So you should definitely check out those reviews if you haven't had an opportunity to do so as of yet.
Yeah, man, Peacemaker, a hell of a show, right, Rob? I've already started my rewatch in anticipation for this week's finale.
Have you? I saw that you were put on. Yeah, I saw you put it on your socials. Right? You're like, I'm going to rewatch it all, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So you did.
It's fun, and I'm maybe on episode 2 or 3.
Okay.
But I don't know if I just don't notice these things at first, but there's a lot of like jokes and things that are laid out at the beginning that all come back later on. I think I was maybe just too busy laughing to kind of drop it in my head. But I have to give a lot of credit to James Gunn and whoever else is writing and things like that, or working on the show. That it was thought to be maybe a throwaway show. I don't know, Rob, how much expectations you had on this show originally. You're like, sure, Peacemaker, whatever, I'll watch it. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I was like, all right, whatever, man. Yeah. It exceeded my expectations, and I'm loving that show. So definitely you want to check out our review, and of course keep it tuned to your favorite YouTube station, which is us right here, because we're going to be reviewing the finale, which comes out Thursday this week. So definitely check us out there.
This Thursday morning, or I guess you can stay up super late.
I don't know. I see. I like to watch it. Yeah, maybe I'll watch it over lunch. We'll see. But John, I got news, buddy. Today is February the 14th. It's Valentine's Day, John, a day of love. But I have to start off with some unfortunately sad news to kick off tonight, which is never fun to do. Last night, it was reported that Ivan Reitman, famed director and producer of some of our favorite movies, including Ghostbusters, Stripes, Meatballs, Kindergarten Cops, and Twins, which is John's favorite comedy, just to name a few, has
Twins is amazing.
Passed away in his sleep at the age of 75. I don't know, man. There's not really much you can say about this individual without like going on and on for hours and hours on end, because I think he was just so influential to movies and comedy and our pop culture lexicon over the last 40 years. So rest in power, good sir. 75 years old, just passed away in his sleep. So I guess if you're gonna go, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, let's move on to some items of love, John, some happiness stuff. Hey, John, do you know how you love Jean-Claude Van Damme?
I'm a fan, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he has announced that he will film one final action movie titled What's My Name? Chance. No, What's My Name? Now, in that movie, Van Damme is going to play himself waking from a coma.
He's not playing Eminem.
No, he's not going to play Eminem. He's going to wait. He plays himself waking up from a coma following a serious car accident. He has amnesia and finds himself having to piece his life together by fighting all of the villains of his past movie, including kickboxers Tong Po, Universal Soldiers Dolph Lundgren, and Bloodsport baddie Bolo Young. The movie starts shooting this summer for a 2023 release.
Okay, Rob.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they are going to bring these guys like Bolo and all those guys? Dolph Lundgren is still active. You think they're going to bring them out of retirement, or they're going to use some movie CGI magic and actually transport him back to like those eras or something like that?
Well, he said in the article with Variety, I think it was, that he said that he spoke to Bolo Young just a short while ago. I think that they still keep in contact quite a bit, and that he's apparently
once in a while you see a picture of him in their socials.
Yeah, apparently he's in fantastic shape, so he's raring to go. I don't know about the rest of them. I mean, I only rhymed off 3, but apparently there's a whole bunch of villains. It's like it's going to be it's like a video
multiverse game for Van Damme.
Yeah, but from a video game, you've got level bosses, and then you're gonna fight. He's gonna have to fight the big bad. So, John, my question to you then would be, who's the big bad in Van Damme's universe? Is it Bolo Young, who starred in, as I said, Bloodsport, but also with Double Team? The Double Team, yeah. Or is it Dolph Lundgren, who they've done 4 movies together, but they've all been under Universal Soldiers banner. Who would be the big bad?
Yeah, I think Dolph Lundgren, his most iconic role is Ivan Drago, so he would be Sylvester Stallone's big bad. I think for Van Damme, it has to be his, like we've talked about it, Bloodsport, one of his most iconic, memorable, rewatchable, favorited movies. So I think it has to be Bolo if they're gonna go all in. It definitely shouldn't be Tong Po because that guy sucked. Rob Schneider should definitely be in the mix. I don't know if anyone saw Knockoff. And I hope Dennis Rodman makes it.
I was waiting for you to say Dennis Rodman.
I'm trying to think of who else I could pull out of my hat that's kind of obscure.
Lewis said Time Cop, but unfortunately Ron Silver passed away a number of years ago, so he's definitely not going to be in the mix. Yeah, I can't think of
Scott's like, the plot sounds stupid. I'm like, does it?
It's John's
or
jam.
is it awesome?
Yeah,
it's definitely a step up from Time Cops Convoluted. I'm gonna win the election and die.
Yes, that's very true. All right. Hey, John.
The mascot from Sudden Death. Sorry, I'll throw in the mascot from Sudden Death. That was a great fight scene.
Could you imagine? You know what? It probably would be that as well. Hey, John. Yeah, you know how after Spider-Man No Way Home, people started to flock back to Netflix to watch Daredevil because they loved Matt Murdock's cameo? Well, word came down that all of the Marvel Netflix shows, Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, the stupid guy Iron Fist, and the Defenders will be leaving Netflix March 1st. Now, word is that they will be joining the Disney-owned Hulu streaming service in the US and possibly Disney Plus Star extension up here in Canada. That has not been confirmed by Disney Canada. However, they've kind of given a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't worry, we've got you covered type thing. We'll announce a date pretty soon. So is this a big get for Disney? Does it make a difference? We've all seen these shows. I mean, they're a number of years old, so
yeah, it kind of consolidates things. So if everything ends up under the Disney banner, and you don't have to go to Netflix to watch any of your Marvel superhero stuff, I think the optics of that mean something. Although I'm very surprised. I thought Netflix produces these shows, right? So I don't know. Do you think Marvel has to then also buy the kind of things off them, even though they own the rights, or you think there was some?
No, it was Marvel Television.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Marvel Television were the ones that produced it and everything else. Netflix was the distribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They were the distribution partner. I think it was I think it was like a 5 or 6 year. It's kind of how like Fox, right? Before, even though Disney purchased Fox, before that they had the rights for some of those characters that were, and that's why Daredevil, it was with Fox, it lapsed and went back to Marvel. So that's what happened here as well, right?
But I think it's very interesting, the optics of it, that you can now be, like the Marvel super fan and not have to subscribe to Netflix. So
yes,
that's an interesting thing.
It's all under one umbrella.
That's unfortunate for Netflix. Yeah.
Hey, John, last week the Academy Awards were announced, Oscar nominations. I'm not going to do a rundown of everything because it's just...
You're not?
Really. Well, we don't have the time. But I'm going to give you the picture, the nods for Best Picture, and let me know what your thoughts are. Best Pick nods are Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story, and The Power of the Dog. John, Power of a Dog leads nominations with 12. Dune, one of our favorite movies of 2021, and definitely on Scott's list. I'm not saying it's a bad list or the good list, on a list. That one landed 10 nominations, but director Denis Villeneuve was not shown any love as he was shut out of a directing nod, which is infuriating. So, John, out of all of these movies, these 10
well, one of them you made up, right? Like Licorice Pizza is not actually, that's like what you had for dinner, right?
I wish. No, it's a real movie.
I'm sending you that. Your birthday comes around, I'm gonna call the pizza joint near you and I'm like, hey, you got some pizza? Can you throw some of that nasty ass black licorice on there and send it to my buddy Rob?
I'm sure Lamana's probably does it.
Oh, you know what? They might.
Yes. No. Licorice Pizza is a movie by Paul Thomas Anderson. Of There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, Magnolia. So, John, out of any of these, I know you've seen Dune. Have you watched any?
Dune
of
is the only thing I've seen I've seen on that list. I've made a joke that the Academy Award nominations is typically a list of movies that I have no interest in seeing. But Dune is on there, so I actually kind of care a little bit. I remember there was a moment where Batman, The Dark Knight was being entertained. Some people were like, oh, it might show up. And I was pretty excited, and it didn't. So I like the fact that it got in there, and if it wins, I'll watch that acceptance speech.
What? Dune?
Of Dune, yeah.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, obviously, like I said, Denis Villeneuve was not nominated for directing, which is a travesty. I don't understand how they did this. I know that I remember a number of years ago when Argo won Best Picture.
Mhm.
It was directed by Ben Affleck. He was not nominated for as a Best Director, which I don't understand how a movie can win Best Picture when you don't have the director behind it. That being said, I've seen a few of these titles. There are a fair amount of them are currently on different streaming services. Dune we know is already out. Power of the Dog is on Netflix. I just watched it this past weekend. I don't understand why it's getting 12 nominations. I think it looks gorgeous, but it is slow as all. It's just not for me. I watched it, but I couldn't get into it. Coda is on Apple TV Plus, and I'm actually really excited to watch that movie because I saw the trailers before, like a few months ago when it came out, and it was something that had intrigued me. And I believe that one of its stars is nominated as a Best Supporting Actor. He's the first hearing impaired male to ever be nominated for an award, so I'm kind of excited to watch that. But also, aside from Denny,
was an Oscar part of your jam before, Rob? Before
I used to do that. Yeah,
COVID
we used to get
nonsense?
together.
Yeah.
I met my wife and I. We would print off a list, and we would select it, and then we'd swap out. We'd have to mark the other person's list.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of fun.
You are into some nerdy stuff. It's just different nerdy stuff.
That's true.
That's cool.
Also not showing any love, John, was Spider-Man No Way Home, which many, including Kevin Smith, called ridiculous, and I 1000% agree. So, John, you kind of touched on it, but what are your thoughts on the matter of you have 10 nominations open up? As you said, the Oscar nominations for Best Picture are all movies that you've never seen, one or two excluded. Do you think they should be also including some of these populist movies, or do you think it's just, then what's the point if they don't have a real shot?
Yeah, I think I do think what's the point if they don't have a real shot? Was there not talk at one point to add a category for like the summer blockbustery type or popular movie?
They're doing like a throwaway award, which I don't think they actually get an Oscar for it, but it's called Audience Favorite to try to make it seem more like, hey, and during the course of the show, you'll be able to cast your vote online or through Twitter or whatever, and then that movie will get an award. It won't get a formal Oscar. Maybe they'll just be like, you guys got the Audience Award. Way to go.
Yeah, for me, I feel like they should add something, but maybe they don't care about catching a different audience because I've never really been interested in the Oscars. So if they added some type of other category or I don't know if they can loosen it though. I feel like the movies that are nominated for it are just those type of movies are what win these type of awards. But I would like to see how the pop movies, I don't know what you would call it, the pop culture movie, or how they stack
popular movies or whatever.
Yeah, like how you stack like the Shang-Chi and the Spider-Mans and all that stuff. Like what does someone more critical think of these? But I guess that's what maybe we're for, or MTV Awards and those kind of fun shows.
Yeah, the People's Choice Awards, and nobody really cares. I do have here my last item as being finally, although there was some breaking news. We'll get into that after. But finally, last night was Super Bowl, and we all loved the full trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There's lots to unpack on that one, John. Actually, for some reason, we haven't done a trailer breakdown on it yet. But it was confirmed that one voice we hear midway through the trailer is who we think it is, John. That's right. That is Patrick Stewart, and who was reprising his role as Professor X from the Fox X-Men movies. More than that,
not Jean-Luc Picard. This is not a crossover. This is not the Star Trek Doctor Strange crossover everybody asked for.
It appears though this scene with Xavier is part of the Illuminati, which many online speculate includes Reed Richards, Namor, Black Panther, Black Bolt, and maybe a new Iron Man or a variant Iron Man. So, John, are you? I mean, I don't know how many times you've seen this trailer. I've seen it only 5 times. 0, dude. It is intense. It is honestly. It feels like there's a lot going on. So, are you excited for this movie? I guess it doesn't even make a difference if you've not seen the trailer.
I'm not. So if we do a trailer reaction, I would probably be like, I'm going to try and keep a straight face and see if this impresses me. But for some reason, I'm just not feeling this right now, but I haven't watched it yet. So if I watch it, maybe I'll get into it.
All right. Well, we should definitely do a trailer reaction because I think you'd enjoy it. At least it comes off the heels of Spider-Man No Way Home. It's the ramifications of what Strange did in that movie affects this one. Yeah, Jesse just put Deadpool's in the poster. Yeah, there is a lot of speculation that this movie poster with shards, you can see these reflections of certain things, and maybe Deadpool is in there with his famous, look. And
See,
then
now I'm getting more interested. All right,
there you go. And breaking news, late this afternoon after I did all my news stuff. Yeah, I guess this is what happens when you have HBO Max and Warner Brothers. Like, we just got to start making stuff. John, they have tapped. His name is Adam Sitzkiel to write and direct a movie about the Wonder Twins.
Sorry, I thought you said Wonder Twins for a second there.
I did. Zane and Jaina. The Wonder Twins. Wonder Twin powers activate form of a bucket of water, John.
Yes.
This is an individual.
If you watch Teen Titans Go, you would know that one of them turns into various forms of water. At one point, flushing themselves down a toilet. Yep. And the other one turns into various animals, I guess. Or
yes. Yeah. Usually like a hawk or something. The individual that they've tapped is Adam, whatever. He apparently worked on Black Adam. I'm not sure in what capacity, but he's been hired to write and direct this movie. Listen, when there's so many DC properties available in IP, why they would dip back into the Wonder Twins is beyond me. But hey, who am I, right?
It's unusual because these characters, like kind of Rob is indicating, they kind of become the butt of a lot of jokes. So
right.
They tried to do a little something with them in the comic scene a little while ago to try to kind of serious it up. It didn't quite catch on, but you know what? Never know. Like shows like Naomi are doing phenomenally well. So I guess that now's if they're going to experiment, I guess now's the time to start throwing some stuff out there. But I can think of so many other DC characters I'd rather see. But whatever, give it a shot.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it, John. That's the news, bud. That's all I got for you. That's all your Valentine's Day is. Six notations of love thrown in for your news, John. So
notations? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, folks, for sticking with us. We are now going to start diving into we're going back in time. We're going back to the 90s. Is that dream sequence or is that time travel, though? I feel like that's a dream sequence segment. Could be. Shout outs to Wayne's World, Tia Carrere, who is in one of our movies that we're going to talk about today, which I mentioned to a friend of mine, and he's like, what, Tia Carrere? How did I not watch this movie? I'm like, you totally watched this movie. You just forgot. But
do you want to throw the bracket up?
Yeah, I was gonna throw the bracket up. And we'll talk a little bit about it. So what are we doing? We're counting down our favorite 90s movies with your input. So you know what, if you say blah blah blah, this is on Collider's or whoever's list and it's not on yours, well, this is our list. We're doing something.
That's right. And just to reiterate this point, this is only for 1990 to 1994. So if you're like, wait a minute, where's The Rock? Where's Con Air? Where's The Matrix? Relax. We're gonna get there. This is just the first half of the decade.
Yeah. All right. So do we want to run down? So Rob, I feel like we have to switch the format up a little bit. So when we're going to get into it more, the round one was almost more for fun. So I don't know if we should start introducing maybe just exhibitions of movies that we just kind of liked from that era and that we just kind of want to rewatch again. But what happened is we had a funny number, and then we had to give a bunch of movies a first round bye. And those movies were True Lies, Demolition Man, Point Break, and Speed, which are very solid contenders. All the other ones from round one I feel like they were more for fun, but we'll see. Maybe some of them become contenders. But I don't know. So we're now on to round two, which today we're going to be talking about True Lies versus Universal Soldier, which I think we're going to advance that quickly, and we're going to end up just talking about the two winners of these rounds, Demolition Man and Hard Target. Right. And then next week, I guess we will be talking about Point Break and Under Siege and Speed and Leon the Professional.
Correct.
So anything else we need to cover before we dive into this, Rob?
No. I really feel
should I just advance this round two?
I think, when I look at this list, it's it's really weird because my memory of the 90s action movies doesn't really jive with this list necessarily. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at some of it. I'm like, oh, I never really would have put that up there. Like, I don't know if I really would have put Last Boy Scout up, although I did enjoy watching a lot more now than I did back then. So that I'm thankful for. But I guess maybe in my brain, this first half of the 90s is still kind of attached to an 80s mentality. Whereas when I think of 90s action movies, I feel like my head goes to more of the Michael Bay isms of the late 90s.
We've got it right here. Like right here, I want to say it's not universally, but it's widely debated that Speed is the introduction of the modern action movie. So right around 1994, which does have Leon in it as well, which is kind of a unique little thing that's happened here. But True Lies, we can definitely see a big difference between those movies and some of the movies that we've watched in round one. So
wait, and explain to me again, because people may ask, maybe they won't because they don't give a shit. Why is it that we didn't put on Terminator 2? Because that was just a killer. That was the event killer, right?
We literally just took it out because we were like,
it'll destroy everything in this first half.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this bracket, and we're gonna do the second half of the bracket. And I think Terminator and Matrix are getting exempt. They're kind of like the retired champions, who are just gonna and we're probably gonna talk about the idea that if anything could possibly top those. Right. Yeah, we definitely are gonna the physics of the bus jump. Yeah, there's a lot of like some of these movies will have like one or two things that you're just kind of like, I wish they didn't do that, and then you would have been like perfect with it. Should I just advance these, Rob, before we start talking, and we're just gonna talk about
we'll talk about it first. But I do like Jonathan Yo. He is correct. Next week's bracket is a way closer fight, and I know that John, you don't like to hear that, but it is. I got the rundown, John. You want to do a rundown of what was first? Was it True Lies was first? Is that we had?
Whatever you want to do, man.
True Lies, I think on the bracket's top, right? So we know the rundown of it's facing off. Is it Universal Soldier? Is that who it's up against?
It's technically against Universal Soldier, yes.
Okay, so we've already done that. We don't need to revisit Universal Soldier. So here's the rundown, ladies and germs, for True Lies. Released July 15th, 1994, True Lies was written and directed by Canadian James Cameron, who has made some little-known movies such as Terminator, Terminator 2, Titanic, Aliens, and Avatar. John, is it me or is he?
You don't even need to rattle off his... He does like TNA.
Yeah, that's why I rattle those ones off, John, because if you think about it, those are all T's and A's. Okay, movie stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold, Tia Carrere, and the late Bill Paxton with a budget of $110 million. The movie brought in a whopping $379 million at the box office, although I guess it's not really a whopping. I don't know. Actually, John, guess what? This movie was the first to have a budget of over $100 million. Like that's it. That fact blew me away. Now this film it was number one movie in Japan for 12 straight weeks when it was released. But the film is not without its controversies, John. Many have deemed it to be misogynistic for its treatment of the women in the movie. It's also looked at as being prejudicial to Muslims. And star Eliza Dushku, who was 12 at the time of filming, stated that she was sexually molested by a stunt coordinator, Joel Kramer, who has come out and denied the accusation. But Arnold, Jamie Lee, Tom Arnold, and James Cameron all tweeted out their support to Dushku. When the movie premiered, it received good critical responses. However, seems to have taken a bit of a hit of late. Rotten Tomatoes currently scores it with a 69, dude, and a 76 audience score. Now, a sequel had been rumored since 1997 and got close to filming quite a few times, but following 9/11, it became harder to get everybody to agree to come back. The script needed to be rewritten, and it just got to be too much for those involved. So, alas, we will never get to see the further escapades of Boris and Dolores. So, John, another movie from James Cameron and Arnold is considered one of the best action movies of all time. Does True Lies belong in the pantheon of one of the best of the 90s? And I welcome a lot of, obviously we want those in the chat to respond as well. So here we are. That's the rundown on True Lies.
Yeah, so let's open with I do feel like there were some issues with the movie in regards to, I guess, racial representation and the female characters, especially I don't know, I'm trying to think, like Elijah Dushku is barely in the movie, right? She's in towards the end.
Yeah, she at the beginning, and then she's hanging on the end of the helicarrier, the jet.
Yeah. Yeah, but overall, I used to think, or I would have thought that this movie would have made my top, if we made a top 5, top 10 movies of all time list.
Okay.
But hot take on the rewatch, I think it's not as strong as I remember it, especially towards the end when he gets into that the Harrier jet.
Yeah.
It looks pretty dated. Like you can kind of tell it's like some rig moving around and stuff like that, especially compared to kind of like modern technology and newer movies. But still, like, Arnold is charming as hell in here. Tom Arnold does a really good job. I don't know what happened to him after this. And then Jamie Lee Curtis, I feel like I didn't appreciate her as much back in the day, but her sense of like comedic timing is, I think, really good in this. And then she kind of does get some redemption in the end, where she kind of becomes part of this kind of like spy team that they are. But yeah, they did kind of they gave her a role that I guess is not wouldn't be considered very glamorous right now. I don't know if they would do the same thing to a character in a movie nowadays. But yeah, like that did you find maybe the opening of this movie was hella stronger than the latter half? I still watch the whole movie. I still enjoy it. I've got my Laserdisc here, so I'm not saying it's a terrible movie or anything. I'm saying it's just not as strong as I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna easily make my top 5, top 10 movies of all time list, but I don't think it's gonna make the cut anymore. But what are your thoughts on it, Rob?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I almost take a bit of a different approach, a flip approach to you. Not that I think it makes my top 10, but when I saw this movie, I wasn't overly impressed with it. I remember when I was younger, I was 18, and I was like, I don't like this. Just doesn't. This is not what I want. It was a bit too jokey for me at the time. I felt like it was. We were coming off of Last Action Hero, and I was like, another Arnold movie where he's no longer like a badass. He's got this like jokey side. Like I wasn't really feeling it. I like Tom Arnold. I've always liked Tom Arnold's inclusion in this. The scene of him getting shot, hiding behind the light standard, the light pole, and he touches himself and he grabs his groin. He's like, "Oh, thank God!" Like that makes me laugh every time I see it. Yeah, but like I found like the whole thing. I found like the Jamie Lee Curtis stuff to be kind of like, as you said, it's dated. I thought though the fact that she ends up trying, being the spy at the end, like the whole, and then with the gun falling down and like the bullets, like I understand.
I remember a lot of people had issues with the gun falling down the steps. I think it's hilarious.
I remember people I remember understanding what James Cameron was going for. I remember when this movie, before it came out, on the news, they had shown the explode like that. They really blew up that bridge. I remember, his whole notion is that he wanted to change the action movie genre from what it was. And I think he did do that to a point. I feel like I like this movie now more than I did back then. I think I can appreciate it a lot more. But I still find it to be just like this side of like an action comedy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I want an action comedy, I'm going to watch Beverly Hills Cop or Beverly Hills Cop 2. I would never think to put True Lies as an action comedy. I don't know if it knows what it wants to be. Does it want to be an action comedy? Does it want to be an action? Right?
I think it's a little bit ahead of its time. I guess where all the heroes kind of became jokey now. But I feel like I love the characters more than I like the overall the overall plot of the movie. I really would like to see. I think there's talks of some TV show or something happening. But
like I like the double agent stuff. Like with Bill Paxton,
like all that.
Like there's a lot of moments. Like I understand. So you talked about the opening. Yeah. Like it was just like this is the thing, is that you have Tom Arnold bringing the funny. You had Bill Paxton bringing the funny. So there are moments where, like, when it works really well. But then there's other moments where it just is so, like, it's satirical almost. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you're going to commit to, like, the comedy of it, then be the comedy. But don't be a satire of it, because now it's like you're doing three different things. So when you asked about the opening, it was a very James Bondian opening, right? You know, and I thought it was kind of cool and interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's
good though to see Arnold in his. I guess is this considered his prime? Like this early nine, like T2 is, I think, 90. Is it 92 or something?
91.
Like
T2
yeah,
was
91. Like this is Arnold in his prime, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So he looked really good. Like some of the action is very serious, like the bathroom fight. Like I think that would probably make my list of one of the greatest kind of Hollywood fights. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that was a precursor though to the Mission Impossible bathroom fight scene? Right? Like
I was gonna say there's at least 3 bathrooms. There's this one. There's Bad Boys 1, I think. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, they fight. Martin Lawrence gets his butt kicked in a bathroom, I think.
Okay.
And then he has to like slide and get they go and get the gun and all that kind of stuff. And then yeah, you're right. Mission Impossible. That out of those, I think the Mission Impossible does take the kick. That Henry Cavill is just too much of a killer in that. Man, I forgot about the Bad Boys. I would have picked Casino Royale. Oh,
when Daniel Craig takes on that guy in the bathroom.
One of the openings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one. Yeah, we'll have to start a list of bathroom fights. We'll have to rewatch them.
And it ends with Austin Powers, also with Tom Arnold. Who does number 2 work for? That's right, buddy. You just grab this. You just give that.
He's like, go do it, man. Scott's got it. That yeah. So I don't know. That's definitely the most comedic one. But I feel like the Mission Impossible with Henry Cavill, Tom Cruise, and I forget the other guy's name. But yeah, he kicked their asses. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, no, I enjoy the opening. Yeah, there are moments of this movie that are a lot of fun. Like, admittedly, the soundtrack is a hell of a lot of fun as well. Like
I didn't have time to go to my mom's place, but I do actually own the soundtrack as well for this movie. So I really went all in for this
wow,
movie. And
you were.
What sucks is I don't believe I saw it in theaters. So I would say if this did kind of, you know, when they kind of resurge movies and bring them back to theaters, if this did pop up, I would still 100% go. Really? But there are issues with the story that you mentioned that you're kind of you cringe a little bit, but you kind of have to chalk it up to a product of its time. And I think that's even going to come up when we talk about Demolition Man as well. So
yeah. Yeah. So in chat, let us know what your thoughts are. I mean, listen, it's fun. Listen, I enjoyed going back and revisiting this movie. As I said before, I seem to enjoy this more than I did when I first saw it. To be honest with you, this was one of those movies, John, when I saw it, I was like, I don't ever want to see this again. And I think I've only ever seen this movie 3 times. I'm a guy that goes back and rewatches a lot of movies, like a lot. And I was just not a fan. So 3 times inclusive of me rewatching it for the show. So yeah, I would definitely rewatch it again down the road. Because I think it's an easy watch. But let us know in chat when it comes.
What about the quick question of does it beat Universal Soldier?
Well, that's what I was going to say. When it comes to beating Universal Soldier, does Harry Tasker does he have the goods to take out Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren? I gotta tell you,
Lou says he quite likes it. This movie does have a distinctive feel that is a bigger deal than a lot of these other movies we've seen so far. Like it feels like you mentioned how much money was thrown at it. It does feel like all of that is on the screen. Everyone's Universal Soldier, no contest. So I feel like I'm just gonna hit this. I'm gonna pop July's ahead right now, and I don't think we need to even discuss that really at length.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. We're gonna get into the next one.
No, I think so. So Lewis brings this up and says maybe I'm just an Arnold fan, and I think this is where some of these actors and actresses from the 90s and 80s win us over. Like, you know, we talked about Leon the other week, how that invested so much in characters. Sometimes just a charming lead actress can achieve that without them actually doing that, you know, like without them actually putting in the work for the story and making us invested in the characters. You're just invested in them automatically because their charisma. So I don't think anyone can be faulted for that. Get out of here, Scott.
As long as you don't have a necklace of ears, Scott, you may go about your business.
I got one of noses.
All right, everybody, we're going to dive into a year earlier, and we are talking Demolition Man, starring Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, DM. Sorry, I have it as DM. Demolition Man was released on October 8th, 1993. A budget of $60 million. It brought in $159 at the box office. Now, while Taco Bell was featured prominently in the movie, the script had been written with Burger King restaurants instead. But they
didn't pay.
Now, well, BK, much like McDonald's, who were also approached, passed, and Taco Bell was all too happy to raise their hand and agree to be included. However, in the European version of the movie, John, Pizza Hut replaced Taco Bell, as the Bell was not well known outside of North America. Now, this actually was interesting because this was a form of localized product placement, and it was the first of its kind for movies. So they just redid a couple of the scenes mentioning Pizza Hut. Now, when Stallone met with the director and producer,
I would like to take you to Taco Bell.
Yeah. I'd like to take you to Pizza Hut. Oh, whatever. Producers, including Joel Silver, he decided to join the cast, but for Simon Phoenix, he wanted and suggested Jackie Chan. But Jackie Chan turned the movie down, and so producers went and they tried to get Snipes to agree, but he continuously turned them down as well. They actually went to his movie Rising Sun and essentially pleaded with him to be in this movie, and he just gave in and agreed to do it.
Now, Sean Connery, Rising Sun?
Yes, that's right. Now, sticking with casting, Sandra Bullock came in after the first actress cast to be Huxley was fired after 2 days. John, Lori Petty.
Duel.
Yeah, Lori Petty was originally Huxley, she of Tank Girl and Point Break fame. Joel Silver said, Joel Silver was like, you know what? We had creative differences. Lori Petty came out and says, yeah, no, Sylvester and I, we do not get along. We're like oil and water. It did not work out well. I don't know if it worked out well for Sandra Bullock, though, because she was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for the worst supporting actress this year. Critics were split on the movie when it came out, but it currently sits at 62% in Rotten Tomatoes and a slightly higher score of 66 audience. And John, now here's where Demolition Men could have been. Initially, this movie was looking to land Steven Seagal as John Spartan. And drum roll, John, ready? Your boy, Jean-Claude Van Damme, was going to be Simon Phoenix. But alas, it was not to be. So, John, after rewatching,
I was gonna fun it. I was gonna fun it until you announced who was gonna play Wesley Snipes' part, and now I want to see this shit. So we're in the age of multiverse remakes. So make it happen, folks.
So after rewatching Demolition Man, John, does it deserve to be considered one of the greatest action movies of the 90s?
Yeah, it's great. It's still this movie is so fun. I know you're gonna rip on it for sure, and a lot of people are gonna rip on it. But has no movie kind of stood the test of time and kind of come up in its kind of commentary of what can become of the world like Demolition Man has? Like, how much of did you watch this? Was really like we're heading this direction. We're heading to we're heading to no bodily fluid exchange. we're heading to probably a shortage of toilet paper and having to use some other means of
seashells
of cleaning ourselves. Like, how much of that commentary works? And we'll even shout out, we were going to do the Time Cop comparison, but the cars actually look pretty legit to what we got now. They basically just added a little kind of like fender cover,
Yeah.
and they were automated driving, and it actually, like, it gave me a lot of Tesla vibes to it. So I don't know. I still thought this movie was fun. I don't think it quite hits the caliber of action that True Lies hits, but the whole Wesley Snipes versus Sylvester Stallone, I thought really worked. Like Snipes, I don't think he normally played a villain. Like maybe New Jack City, his character was a villain in that, I believe, or a hero, depending on how you look at it. But but you have this guy who's a big box office, well, maybe not a big box, but a hero in many of his films, get to turn around and be a bad guy. So I don't know. I think it still works. Rob, I know you rewatched it, and are you happy you rewatched it?
I watched this movie a fair amount of times when I was younger. And I think much like watching Batman Forever or your favorite Batman and Robin, I think to see you right. And they made a joke in this that was very similar. Iced, it's cold in here or whatever. And I was like, give me a break. There's a lot in this movie that reminded me of Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. And of course, it's Warner Brothers. Like a lot of the action scenes I felt were very similar to ones that we had seen in those two movies. Like it felt, this is my way of saying that this movie felt very campy. A lot more than I remember it being. And I'll listen, here's my biggest issue with the plot. All right. Okay. This is only 36 years after, like, it takes place 36 years later. Like, first of all, not only is there massive advancements in technology within that 36 years, but everybody seems to have forgotten what it was like just like less than 40 years ago, including all of the older individuals. Like the police chief is referring to John Spartan as a Neanderthal. That police chief is probably in his 60s, meaning he was like, he just looked old. He just aged poorly, and he was a young man. He's like, you're a Neanderthal. Like, this is what boggled my mind. It's like all of these older people all remember what it was like living back in 1996. Like, what are we talking about here? How are they so like forgetful? This future was way too soon after. Like, I would have bought it, John, if it was 136 years later, or if it was 84 years later, or something like that. Like, there needed to be a greater passage of time. 36 years wasn't enough. Like Leanna Huxley, she was in her late 20s or early 30s, so she wouldn't have grown up. But I just think it's like, listen, my kids were born in the 2000s. They know, they understand what the 90s were like from based on me telling them. Like, it seems nonsensical and not plausible to me that you have this futuristic issue that happened in 36 years.
This is your main plot issue, that they needed to extend the time.
The time should have been longer.
And Simon Phoenix were frozen.
Yeah. Also,
remember what was the time gap in Time Cop? It was 10 years only.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Simon Phoenix, like Wesley Snipes, he was a badass in a lot of those movies. Like, you think about all the stuff that he was in around this time, whether it was Passenger 57, even White Men Can't Jump, but any of his action movies that he was in. And then in this, he is super campy. He's screaming. He's like, he was a cartoon. When Spartan is getting out of this trap, he's in there going, oh man, like it was like, wait, what are you doing? And just so for the record, neither one of these guys could shoot a gun. Like, this was like watching the G.I. Joe cartoon where Cobra and G.I. Joe were just firing guns and nothing was hitting. Like, they could not shoot at each other whatsoever. And there's a lot of Stallone jumping and screaming as he's jumping on the side, shooting or running. Like, he did a lot of jump shots in this movie.
Yeah. How did he look, though? He looked pretty good, man.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree. Listen, there are some good moments in this movie, some funny moments in this movie. that kind of make me laugh out loud when I was watching it. But for the most part, honestly, I found even the sensibilities of these people from the future just to be like so. It was campy. That's all I could say. It was campy as all hell, and I was really surprised, man.
You didn't I really like the police force, kind of like they're holding like these instructing things, and they're like, tell the perpetrator to like lie down and spread like he's like watching a YouTube video that teaches him how to arrest somebody. Like
yeah, he's got he's
works.
holding this thing, and he's like, he's not listening. And it's like, approach a citizen and say it again. Like I was like, oh man, like.
Whose outfits are worse, the Time Cop TEC uniforms or these futuristic police? I don't know what you would call them, like shiny Judge Dredd wannabe uniforms.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I was like, holy shit! When you see Stallone in it, I was like, did he just take this from the Judge Dredd set, or did he? Because I think it was Dredd '95, maybe. Because I was like, he just took these and he just reused them for Dredd because they looked exactly the same.
Or they look like they're extras from Rhythm Nation, Janet Jackson tour or something.
No, but like Benjamin Bratt in this movie. This guy was like on Law and Order. I mean, you've seen him in a ton of things.
Miss Congeniality,
right? And then you see him, and he's like, "Oh, Huxley, you're like this. Like you're trying to tell me that the radio station, their golden oldies, was jingles of like commercials? What are you talking about? This is where I say that the time issue
from older than it was like jingles from like the '60s or something like that."
Yeah,
were you okay with the guys? You know how Wesley Snipes' crew, they wore armor that looked like it was made out of old tires.
Like yeah,
they were just old tire like football uniforms or something.
Yeah, like at one point, like he, when he gets reanimated or escapes or whatever, and he's got like the orange shirt with his overalls. I mean, his
overalls, yeah.
Right out of the 90s, right? He's out of a Belle Biv DeVoe music video. But then at that one point when he ends up in like that dude's office and he's wearing all, like you said, tires, like cut up tires to make it look like armor. I'm like, what? When did he get that?
Someone saved them a bunch of money on wardrobe. They were like, yo, I got an idea here. We got a whole bunch of tires kicking around back here. I'm going to cut all these up and make them into something. They shouldn't have wore the armor at all.
You know what? I was surprised while watching the credits that those outfits were not actually provided by the town of Tonawanda, who are known for their tire fires. Every 10 years in Tonawanda, there's always a tire fire. So I'm very surprised that they didn't actually have the excess tires provided to production. They look ridiculous. Jesse, the Body Ventura, was in this movie. He's credited in this movie. Doesn't say a single line. He has a spray on goatee, and he just he grins. And John, this is not a good movie.
It's fun. I think this is a fun movie. Is it as strong as I thought it was going to be? Maybe not quite. Do you think Wesley Snipes can somehow be resurrected for a sequel or a follow-up?
Not playing the character. Listen, man. Do you think about how menacing this would have been if he was like really like serious and like threatening? Like was this a product of like 90s Warner Brothers where they had to all be caricatures? I don't understand. I don't get it. Why they had to be acting this way. It made no sense to me. I would have liked to have seen like a Wesley Snipes without the Blade voice, but with that type of intensity. That would have been a much better version of Simon Phoenix. Listen, I was going to get my son to watch this with me, and I think I would have lost a lot of credibility with him had I made him watch it. Dennis Leary was great. Lewis says Dennis Leary was great. He was awesome in it as Edgar Friendly. Here's the problem with Dennis Leary's thing, though. So they brought him in to make it more funnier, right? They said, hey, we need you to bring in, this is true. He had to write his lines. To punch
it up.
Right. He had to write his lines for that script. And then he had to have it approved by like a whole bunch of like lawyers and studio executives to be able to say what he wanted to say. However, this is just a couple of years after his comedy album came out, where his song "I'm an Asshole" reached top 10 status, and it's almost it's not verbatim, but it's the same cadence, the same, amount of things he's saying. It sounds like he's just doing a different and alternate version of his "I'm an asshole," and so I was like, which is weird because it's not you get such a different version of Dennis Leary in the Rescue Me TV series, but yeah.
Oh man, yeah, Rescue Me. If you want to get hella depressed, watch some Rescue Me. The show is mad sad.
Jonathan Yo says, I think that the tongue-in-cheek made it way more enjoyable than True Lies. Maybe. I don't know, but first it has to get past its first contender, John. And who is it up against? In the bracket, who is Demolition Man?
Hard Target.
Hard Target. Oh my god. 2 movies I really don't like.
Chance. Because his mama took one.
Oh my god.
I think it for sure. Hey, folks, let us know in the chat. What do you think? Demolition Man or Hard Target? Who you got? Van Damme or the combination of Stallone, Snipes, and Sandra Bullock?
I feel like this is like my worst nightmare.
What would you pick out of the 2 though, Rob?
I'll tell you.
Demolition Man is still overall more fun.
Yeah, I would pick Demolition Man because my problems with Hard Target and its ridiculous ballet fight scenes. So I would
choose Hard Target for
Man.
myself, but if I had to recommend something to somebody else, I would go Demolition Man because I think it's got a wider appeal.
There are me riffing on. There are, like I said, there are some really cool moments in the movie. There are some fun movies, and you are right. It does. It predicts a lot of things that have come to fruition or will be soon. And, I've always thought
Sandra Bullock's office in the police HQ is a spinning image of what you might have going on behind you there. What do you remember? Do you remember what poster she had on display?
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah. Why 3? Why would they choose 3 and not just put 1 or 2 on there?
Because that was one, because that was a bit more of a comedic version of Lethal Weapon series. So, and it also, I think, had just kind of come out around that time as well. Right, so that's like,
you think because it was current, they chose it.
Yeah, that's why. So Demolition Man for me definitely beats Hard Target. Without a question, but
yeah, and I think especially now in what we're experiencing right now, the times we're living in now, I think Demolition is a much more interesting watch because then you're like, hey, this kind of shit's looking a little familiar here.
Right.
Replace a couple things the eyeball scan, that's your phone has face recognition app now and all that stuff. So it's like we're pretty much there. We could be in theory at the Demolition.
Yeah, without having to remove your ocular your eye or the ocular cavity. Yes.
It looks like I don't think anyone is going for Hard Target. So let's say Demolition Man 2. Do you want to make a call on Demolition versus True Lies though, or you want to save that for later?
No, I'd say we go for it now because we've discussed both of these movies. I'm gonna choose True Lies over Demolition Man. That is my.
I think the choice is True Lies. I think it's just there's a lot more. I feel like there's more going on. The caliber of action is higher.
Yeah. Yes.
And the whole, I think just the idea is overall, I think better.
Right. Yeah. No, it is in the truest sense of the word an action movie based on what our criteria was versus what Demolition Man is.
Yeah. What if James Cameron one day said he'll direct a James Bond? Do you think it would be along the lines of True Lies?
Well, the director of No Time to Die, Cary Fukunaga, anyways, or his name Corey, whatever. He's the first
I want to say it's Corey.
Corey. He's the first non.
I don't know.
British director of a Bond movie. All that to say is I highly doubt James Cameron will ever get a shot at it. He's way too busy doing Avatar 2, 3, 4.
If those ever come out.
Now it's interesting because Lewis says True Lies has the poll win anyways. I don't know about that. I don't know. We'll have to see how.
No. We set up so if you're on YouTube, there is a YouTube poll up at the beginning.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So let me try and check on that quickly, or I don't know if Lewis wants to let me know what the percentage was. I don't get to see it here on. Yeah, it's like 78% versus 22%. So let's go ahead and send True Lies through. And it is in. So we've got next week on deck, which I feel like it's going to be pretty easy because, well, homework wise, but I feel like I still wouldn't mind watching Point Break and Speed again. We just rewatched it for Keanu Reeves. Was it just? It feels like we just did that, but it's probably like a year ago.
No, I think we did it in November. Didn't we do it in November?
Oh yeah, was it that recent?
Wasn't it? Did we not?
I don't know.
I thought it was.
I have no sense of time anymore.
I don't remember when we did.
What is time?
We did Point Break. We did Speed. No, I thought we did it leading up to The Matrix, didn't we? Didn't we watch his movies leading?
It was just a random.
Or was it we watched John Wick.
Yeah,
did we watch John Wick 1, 2, 3, Speed, Point Break? Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, people, go back and check out our feed and let us know. Because the people who hosted the show have no memory of what we did.
I can probably find it.
Speed is currently on Disney Plus. If you are a subscriber, it's also on Crave Stars extension. So you have a couple of options there. Point Break. That should be also.
I feel like both of them were added. I think at the time we did it, it was a little dicey.
Point Break is currently on the Crave Stars extensions, nowhere else. So you do have options to watch it there. Although it's currently you can, if you felt like purchasing it from say Apple Plus or whatever, it's $10. And why wouldn't you want to own that movie? Because it's amazing.
It's great. I feel like we're gonna have a Keanu versus Keanu in the same.
No, I don't think so, because I think my thoughts on Point Break, but man, I gotta tell you, I think Lewis is right. I think was it Lewis or no? It was Jonathan. Point Break versus Under Siege is going to be a big. That's going to be a.
I don't think so. I think Point Break wins.
No, I don't think so,
for sure. Patrick Swayze, come on, Patrick Swayze versus. Isn't Gary Busey in both movies?
He is, yeah.
I think he's definitely better in Point Break, where he's like get two Utah. Like I think you forgot how good Point Break was because you just watched Under Siege. And I think Point Break blends the comedy and action together better than the issues you had with Demolition Man and maybe True Lies. We started Keanu Reeves like a marathon back in May 2021.
Was it May?
Okay. We went Point Break, Speed, John Wick, 1, 2, 3. Just for the hell of it, looks like.
Yeah. I feel like now, if I remember correctly, I feel like we were just talking about, and we were like talking about those movies. I'm like, you know what? Like, we should do a Keanu Reeves revisit on those movies. So yeah, good for us. Good for us, John, for doing that.
Oh, looks like you got Fraser's on your side. Looks like Jonathan Yost maybe on your side. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Point Break is a hell. But
I love Point Break, but yeah. So that's next week, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. As a reminder, the Heroes World podcast. Last week we reviewed the season or series, I don't know, finale of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, and episode 7 of Peacemaker. The finale of Peacemaker is coming out Thursday, so we will have your review. And John, I believe we have confirmed that we are going to be doing a season review of Reacher.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't finished watching Reacher, you have one more week to finish Reacher, and I believe we want to do a live show talking about our love of season 1.
Is that what we agreed on? I don't know. Did Stu? Because he wanted.
I don't know. I feel like we can do it live. We've given everyone enough time to watch it like this, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But thank you everybody for staying tuned in. Hopefully you have watched it. It's a hell of fun, and it's been doing phenomenally great.
Yeah.
Review wise, I believe Alan Richardson has done several interviews about his portrayal of Jack Reacher, and the guy seems hella cool. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Lewis confirming it was filmed in Pickering. I was looking up locations. I'm like, should I drive out there and check it out? I don't know if it's actually exists, like if any of the sets still exist, or if they're under heavy surveillance. But I feel like they're moving on after season 1. Rob, wouldn't they have to create a whole new set?
Yeah, but there's a lot of film set stuff out this way. So, yeah, I mean, it depends what book they're going to go to, and it's going to be a couple years before we get the next season. But hopefully, it's sooner rather than later. So,
yeah. I think Alan said he does want to do Die Trying, which is I think the second book.
Okay.
So maybe they just keep it simple, and maybe they just go in order. Rob.
Yeah.
I think you stated last time we talked about it. You like all the books universally. There's no. We couldn't isolate a single book that we wanted to see follow it up.
Because we don't know when you look at the titles, you're like, I don't know what I have to read what the
you can't tell from the titles. I think all the storylines are distinctively different. So it's not like he compared it to the Steven Seagal, which all have the similar plot lines. All the Jack Reacher books have very different stories, but you can't tell. I think one of them is called Tripwire. And I'm like, what was that one about again? Like, you can't tell from the title. But
actually, there's like 4 books that they're not sequentially together. I think it's like book 5, 9, something else. Anyways,
there's a couple flashback books,
but they all are with some of the same. Like, they tell an overarching story that if you were to read all 4 of them together, it's one big story. But yeah, it's because he travels. He leaves like after book 1, the first part of the book. He leaves after that first, like book 5 or whatever. He's gone, and then like on book 9 or whatever, he starts his adventure, and it's like it starts to tie into things that he did. And it says, "Well, that was like months ago when I was dealing with like."
Some things that have happened continue on, which is not normal for this book. But I do have. I'll save it for the podcast, I guess. I have 1 or 2 of the books that I didn't quite like that I wouldn't want to see, but we'll talk about it when we get to that. So you guys got a 1-week timer. Finish up your Reacher, watch it again if you want. Check out some of the books maybe. I really like the audiobooks, so if you're on Audible, check them out. Listen to the ones by Dick Hill. If he's narrating it, he's hilarious. He does all these voices and stuff like that.
I've never listened to a book on tape. Never done it.
You should try it. I got into it. Sorry, we're going late, folks. But I got into it because during your commute, sometimes you're stuck in traffic. Get around anywhere in Toronto to get from Toronto to Toronto is like a 1-hour drive. So I would just pop them in the car and I would go through a book like every couple of weeks or so. So yeah.
Well, maybe I'll check. I think there's like a free trial on Audible or whatever. I think that's an Amazon thing, right? So
yeah, there's an Amazon thing and you can get like 1 month for cheap or 3 months for cheap. I would definitely try it. I love audiobooks because you just pop them in. But thank you for sticking with us, folks. Anything else before any parting words, Rob?
No, that's it.
No?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Be well.
Be well. Be well, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Fraser, sorry. Well, you can listen to a book 5 minutes at a time. It's
my current commute to work is down a few stairs.
You can pop a headphone in during other chores and stuff like that, though.
There we go.
But thank you, everybody. Good night. We're going to talk about
Thanks,
Point Break, Speed, Under Siege, and Leon next week.